and she has been working there as a research assistant so far. Her research interests include neuropharmacology and inflammatory disease. Thank you, Dr. Nafis, for connecting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Krishna. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on cardiology. My name is Nafisa Norouzi, and I'll be your moderator today. So before we start, I would like to mention that if you wish to ask the presenters a question, there will be an opportunity at the end of each presentation. And now we have an open chat feature enabled, so you can interact throughout the webinar. Okay, so let's start. I would like to introduce our today's first presenter, Dr. Ashu Garg. Dr. Ashu Garg is one of the senior cardiologists from Rajasthan, India. He has received a fellowship from Indian Academy of Echocardiography in the year 2011. He got membership in Indian Academy of Echocardiography, Association of Physicians of India, membership, Association of Physicians of India, Cardiological Society of India, International Society of Cardiovascular Ultrasound, American College of Physicians. He has been awarded with the Best Research Paper Presentation at 7th Annual Conference of Association of Physicians of India, Rajasthan, chapter at Alwar, India, in October 2002, and also on 28th Annual Conference of Association of Physicians of India, Rajasthan, chapter at Ajma, India, in October 2018. He's going to give a presentation on the title of Uncommon Right Heart Masses. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Garg, for being here today with us. Please start.
Thank you, Nafisa, for your kind words. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, all. First of all, I would like to thank all the organizing team to provide me the opportunity to speak in this conference. Now I am going to present some uncommon or rare right heart masses, and all of the case studies are from our own echo laboratories. There are the cardiac mass. The cardiac mass is always challenging, especially if they are on the right side of the heart. That should raise the suspicion of the malignancy in the heart. Secondary or metastatic tumors are 20 to 40 times more frequent than primary tumors. The primary intracardiac tumors are rare. The echocardiography remains the initial imaging modality for the majority of patients with cardiac mass, but in many clinical scenarios, a transthoracic echocardiography is not sufficient. Because of a unique scenario of each patient, an individualized approach is recommended. We are presenting a series of rare right-sided heart masses diagnosed initially by echocardiography. The various names of these rare heart masses are right atrial paraganglioma, right atrial myxoma, spindle cell sarcoma of right ventricular outflow tract, and hereditary cyst in right ventricular outflow tract. And we will discuss in next couple of minutes them one by one. First comes to rare the right atrial paraganglioma. A 35-year-old female presented to us with complaints of atypical chest pain and exertional shortness of breath for 6 months duration. Her vitals were stable as soon as to normal. There was no added sound, no murmur. Chest was bilaterally clear. In ECG, it was normal sinus rhythm, 86 beats per minute. The teen version was seen in ECG in leads 3rd and AVF. His chest X-ray was normal. His ultrasound whole abdomen showed the uterine endometrial polyp and fibroid. That must be the coincidental finding. Her CT abdomen was normal. When the patient came to us for echocardiography, you can see over here, there was a solid mass attached to interatrial septum along with the septal tricuspid leaflet on the right side of the heart, that is in the right atrium. In next modified view, you can very well appreciate that it is solid mass attached to the interatrial septum. So it raised the suspicion of some solid mass. The inferior vena cava was totally normal. There was no nothing in inferior vena cava. When we performed the transesophageal cardiography, it again reconfirmed our finding of solid mass in right atrium attached with the interatrial septum. The size of solid mass was 23.5 mm to 36.7 mm. Then looking at with the high index of suspicion of the myxoma, our surgeon planned to operate and excise the mass. As per the operating notes, the size of mass is 35 millimeter to 25 millimeter. That was almost same that of the size of our transesophageal echo findings. Firm encapsulatory smooth tumor arising from area between annulus of the septum leaflet of the tricuspid valve and posterior margin of tumor formed by the entry margin of coronary sinus. Half of the mass was in RA, protruding just above the tricuspid valve, and half intramyocardial in atrial septum between the annulus of the septal leaflet and coronary sinus. This was the intraoperative picture of the mass. This is the picture of excised mass, gross picture, and this is the histopathological picture of the mass, and this is the immunohistochemistry IHC the picture of mass. The overall picture was suggestive of paraganglioma. So, if we come to the literature, the cardiac paraganglioma are rare tumors and constitutes less than 1% of all cardiac tumors. The primary cardiac paraganglioma are rare in extremity. It are extremely rare. There are no more than 50 reported cases of cardiac paraganglioma in the world literature, with only 5 cases of right atrial paragangliomas. The cardiac pheochromocytoma is extremely rare. So, the conclusion of this case study is we present a case of right atrial paraganglioma which was resected successfully. This tumor is one of the very rare tumor with very few cases reported in the world literature so far. And with best of our knowledge, this was the first right atrial paraganglioma reported from the India. Surgery remains the mainstay of the management with need for long-term follow-up essential since late recurrence of these tumors are known. These are the clinical presentation of paraganglioma. We are not going to detail of all these things. Come to the discussion part. Paragangliomas are catecholamine secreting tumors that arise from the chromaffin cells of the sympathetic ganglia and are also known as extraadrenal pheochromocytomas. Intracardiac paragangliomas have been found mostly in the left atrium and less commonly in the interatrial septum, left ventricle, anterior surface of the heart, and right ventricular outflow tract. Cardiac paragangliomas are arguably the most technically demanding to resect due to the proximity to coronary arteries and myocardium. Long-term follow-up is essential as paragangliomas can recur many years after initial diagnosis. The case was published in the Journal of Cardiovascular Ultrasound in 2016. Next, come to the right atrial myxoma with coronary artery disease. A 50-year-old male presented with the complaints of shortness of breath on exertion, myalgia, low-grade fever of 1 month duration, and fever was more since 7 days. He was also a known case of coronary artery disease for last 5 years. The parameters were normal. His serum creatinine was 2.2, and the reason for high serum creatinine was obstructive uropathy, as his ultrasound abdomen showed moderate right hydronephrosis with proximal hydroureter with bilateral renal cortical cyst. His CT abdomen showed 1.4 centimeter calculus in the right mid ureter with obstruction, dilatation of the proximal ureter, and pelvic system. That was an additional coincidental finding. This is the ECG of the patient. There is nothing significant except some aesthetic changes along with sinus tachycardia. When we did the echo in parasternal short and long axis view, you can see there is nothing significant except some sort of regional wall abnormalities, and that is because of patient is already a known case of coronary artery disease. Then again, on right side of the heart, right atrium, there was a pedunculated mass or a mobile mass in the right atrium attached to the interatrial septum. There was a, you can see there is a echolucent space inside the mass. In subcostal view, you can see the inferior vena cava is clear, and this is the mass in the right atrium. So short axis view, again showing the regional wall motion abnormalities along with low ejection fraction because of the coronary artery disease. When we perform the transesophageal echocardiography, that again confirmed our findings of a mass attached to interatrial septum in the right atrium with echolucent area inside the mass. This is again the transesophageal echo findings. The size of mass in as per transesophageal echocardiography is 21 millimeter by 43 millimeter. The surgery was performed. The right uvetrolithostomy was done, and after 4 days, there was coronary artery bypass graft along with RA myxoma. Excision was done. This is the intraoperative picture of the mass. The size of mass was 5 centimeter into 3 centimeter into 2 centimeter. That is almost equal to our transesophageal echo picture of the mass. These are the histopathological picture of the mass, and these are all the features are including histopathological findings suggestive of myxoma. Our case was again published in Journal of Cardiovascular Echocardiography. The classical triad of cardiac myxoma are obstruction of the blood flow, constitutional symptoms, and thromboembolic events. The incidence of cardiac myxoma peaks at age 40 to 60 years of age with female to male ratio of 3:1. The primary intracardiac tumors are rare. Approximately 75% are benign and approximately 50% are myxoma. Out of 75% benign tumors, 50% are myxoma, which have an incidence of 0.0017% in general population. Myxomas are located in the left atrium in most of the cases, that is 75 to 80% of cases, and are almost always present with signs and symptoms of mitral valve disease or thromboembolic events. They may arise in other locations such as right atrium, but that is less common, approximately 18% of cases. The right atrium is an unusual location and is site of 15 to 20% cases of the myxoma. According to size, mobility, and location of the tumor, as well as physical activity and body position, patient symptoms may have an asymptomatic course or progress with thromboembolic event that may even lead to sudden death. Recurrence: a small percent of patients, up to 5%, typically those with family history, smaller tumors or ventricular locations, are at risk of recurrent or new myxomas, which underscores the importance of severe follow-up, the serial follow-up. The reported rate of left or right-sided embolic phenomena associated with cardiac myxoma ranges from 21 to 33%. Once a cardiac myxoma is diagnosed, surgical excision should be performed without delay because of constant risk of thromboembolic events. My third case is spindle cell sarcoma of right ventricular outflow tract. A 11-year-old boy presented to us with gradually worsening dyspnea on exertion for 3 months. His physical examination showed heart rate of 110 minutes per minute, that was regular. Blood pressure was 90/60. A grade 4/6 ejection systolic murmur were present in the pulmonary area. Oxygen saturation was 84%. His ECG showed sinus tachycardia and right ventricular strain and right axis deviation. When we perform the echocardiography, the short axis view at the level of aortic wall level, you can very well appreciate a huge mass obstructing the RVOT, that is extending from right ventricular outflow tract up to the bifurcation of the pulmonary arteries. Here you can see the color flow. There is turbulence in the right ventricular outflow that signifies the significant obstruction in the right ventricular outflow. Here is the gradient across the right ventricular outflow tract, and the gradient is, peak gradient is 68.95 millimeter of mercury. That is in the range of severe RVOT, right ventricular outflow tract obstruction. Here you can see the dilated right atrium and right ventricle. So looking at the clinical scenario, our surgeon plans for the urgent surgical excision of the tumor. He had an uneventful post-operative course with normal oxygen saturation and was discharged on post-operative day 5. This is the histopathological picture of the mass, and this histopathological picture was suggestive of spindle cell sarcoma. That is again very rare mass. The malignant primary cardiac tumors, constitute around 15% of primary cardiac tumors. However, a tumor present only on the right side of the heart has almost 50% chance of being a malignant primary cardiac tumor. There are various types of pulmonary artery sarcomas. The sarcoma of pulmonary artery almost always originates from the pulmonary trunk to which it is firmly fixed and may extend distally into one or both pulmonary arteries or proximally to semilunar valves and right ventricular outflow tract. The prognosis is poor, and without resection, 90% of patients die within 1 year of diagnosis. Even with metastatic disease, the surgical debulking does have a survival advantage. The diagnosis is difficult to make ante-mortem and frequently is confused with other clinical conditions such as pulmonary embolism. Because of its rarity and insidious growth characteristics, pulmonary artery sarcoma is often mistaken for pulmonary embolism, leading to inappropriate therapy such as prolonged anticoagulation or thrombolysis. A precise diagnosis is crucial. In this case, the homogeneity of the mass on echocardiography and its lack of eccolucent area favored a solid malignant tumor over thrombus. The eccolucent area in the thrombus are due to natural lytic mechanism in the blood as they tend to dissolve thrombus internally. Sarcoma of pulmonary artery is a distinctly rare tumor that occurs more commonly in adults between the ages of 50 and 65 years of age. Pulmonary artery sarcoma is a rare tumor of the cardiovascular system, and very few cases have been reported in the literature. The reported age at presentation has ranged from 13 to 86 years, with the majority of cases occurring in the middle age. Our patient was 11 years old at the time of presentation. To best of our knowledge, this represents the youngest case of pulmonary artery sarcoma reported to date. Also, the echocardiography findings helped differentiate between the thrombus and solid tumor. The case was published in journal Echocardiography in 2015. Now comes to my last case, that is hydatid cyst in right ventricular outflow tract, a rare presentation. A 46 years old female presented with complaints of gradually increasing dyspnea on exertion class 2 to 3 for 3 to 4 months. Her vitals were stable. Her physical examinations, laboratory workup, ECG, and chest X-ray were essentially normal. The patient come to us for echocardiography. Here you can see a mild pericardial effusion along the left ventricular posterior wall. Along with, you can also see a membrane-like structure in the right ventricular outflow tract. With more delineation, you can see the right and the membrane structure was actually a sac in the right ventricular outflow tract, and a mass-like structure is there inside the sac. When we switch on the color flow, there was little bit turbulence in the RVOT that signifies some of the obstruction in the right ventricular outflow tract. Here also you can see when now we try to perform a bubble study to show the exact location, exact connection between the sac and the right flow outflow tract. Here you can see the agitated saline first coming to right ventricular outflow tract, then it's going to the sac. Again you can see first right flow RVOT, then into the sac. Means there is a connection between the right ventricular outflow tract and the sac, and inside the sac there was a mass. The size of mass in transthoracic echo was 22.8 mm and 21.04 mm, that is almost 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter. The trans-tricuspid registration gradient was 51.95 millimeter of mercury. Then we performed the trans-esophageal echocardiography. Then that again confirmed our finding. You can see this is right ventricle outflow tract, and this is the sac, and inside the sac there is a mobile mass. We performed the bubble study again in trans-esophageal echo, and again you can see the same finding. The bubbles first coming to the right ventricular outflow tract, then it's going into the sac. The CT scan of the chest and abdomen and pelvic ultrasound did not show any other extracardiac mass. So again, it was a mass of unknown etiology. So it was again excised by our surgeon. Here you can see a solid mass. This was the excised mass, and when the section was cut for this mass, actually it was a cystic mass rather than a solid mass. And this is the histopathology picture of the mass, and the histopathology showed the multiple fragments of necrotic and fibrous tissue admixed with laminated membranes and protosclerosis of Echinococcus granulosus. So it's a hydrated cyst. If you come to the literature, the isolated cardiac hydrated cyst is rare and occurs in about 0.2 to 2% of all cases. LV-free valve is involved in most frequently, followed by interventricular septum, right atrial valve, right ventricular myocardium, left atrium, pulmonary artery, and pericardium. There is an isolated case report of right ventricular outflow tract hydrated cyst found at autopsy following sudden death. And as per the case report published in Indian Journal of Thoracic Cardiology in 2009, they claimed that there was no living case of successful surgical treatment of isolated right ventricular outflow tract hydrated cyst has been reported in the literature to best of authors' knowledge. And this case report was the successful surgical hydrated cyst in the right ventricular outflow tract, successful surgical outcome. And in our case, the unique features are like this. It was a third reported case of RVOT hydrated cyst, second case of successful surgical treatment of isolated RVOT hydrated cyst. It was an unusual presentation, that is solid mass seen in echo, and we documented the communication between the hydrated cyst and cardiac chamber with the help of bubble study. The case was published in Journal Echocardiography in 2016. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you for your talk, Doctor. Any questions for Dr. Ashok?